An increasing number of elderly people are becoming a burden on the economy, so the government has legalized assisted suicide plans for people over 75 years old in Japan. A young man broke into a nursing home with a double-barreled shotgun, killing all the residents. After committing the massacre, he prepares to take his own life, but first records a final message. In it, he mentions that the large elderly population in Japan is causing an economic strain, affecting younger generations. Japan has a long tradition of people sacrificing themselves for the welfare of the country, and he hopes that this drastic and brave measure he has taken will spark a debate on the subject. Then, he places the shotgun to his head and pulls the trigger. Next, a news report reveals that the government has passed a law called Plan 75, which aims to facilitate the death of all citizens over 75 years old. The law was approved despite opposition both locally and internationally. An elderly woman named May, who works as a cleaning lady at a hotel, continues her daily routine while discussing health issues with her colleagues, who are also elderly. She returns home, where she apparently lives alone, and performs everyday tasks like preparing dinner and clipping her toenails. On the other hand, a young man named Haru works in the offices of Plan 75. He talks to a woman who is registering for the program, and it is revealed that participants are offered $11,000 to spend on whatever they want before they die, such as traveling or trying exotic foods. The plan also includes services like being buried alongside loved ones. Haru keeps a customer service smile on his face while explaining everything, but the tension in the room is palpable. A young woman named Maria works in a nursing home, where security has been heightened after the shooting incident. It is revealed that Maria has a daughter with an unknown illness that requires urgent surgery. She speaks with her husband about the chances of success for the operation, but she doesn't receive a satisfactory answer. May attends a medical appointment with a friend, and while waiting, she hears an advertisement for Plan 75 that mentions how, although we can't choose when or how we are born, it's amazing that we can now choose when and how to leave this world. May sees through the phony advertisement and feels uncomfortable. At that moment, a man angrily gets up and unplugs the television where the ad is playing. Mishi chuckles. Later, Mishi and her friends arrive at a karaoke bar for some girl time. After singing, one of her friends begins talking about the Plan 75 Platinum package, which offers them the chance to stay at a luxury resort surrounded by friends and family. She comments that, as far as dying goes, it's not the worst way. Furthermore, she adds that when she thinks about doing it for her grandchildren, it becomes all the more worthwhile. May isn't sure how she feels about this. May spends the night at her friend Ino's house, and as they are about to sleep, Ino talks about how, despite having children and grandchildren, she still feels lonely. May responds that, in the end, we are all alone in this world. The two women hold hands and fall asleep. Later, Maria arrives at her church, where an elder member helps her collect donations for her daughter's surgery by sharing her story. It is revealed that Maria's daughter and husband are in the Philippines, where she is from, and her daughter was born with a heart condition. Church members generously donate and offer comfort and support. Afterward, the elder also tells Maria about a much better paying job opportunity than her current one. It involves working with elderly people, but Maria is unsure of the exact nature of the job. Homu arrives at work, but is shocked to see that the elderly person registering that day is his own uncle. His boss suggests that he let someone else handle the case since he is too emotionally involved, and it might affect him. Reluctantly, Homu agrees. Later, Mishi and her friends seem to retire from their job at the hotel, but in reality, they are being politely dismissed because the hotel doesn't want an elderly person dying on the job. Her friends discuss how they will be moving in with their children, though it won't be easy because their children are all married with kids and are not enthusiastic about having elderly people around. They ask Mishi what she will do, and she replies that she has no one to go to, so she will just have to find another job. They also talk about their friend Inko's declining health. When May gets home, she calls Inko to check on her, but there's no answer. She also discovers that her building has issued an eviction notice. The next day, Mishi spends all day searching for a place to live and a new job, but since she is 78 years old, it is very difficult to find either. Finally, she returns home and calls a friend who had mentioned that her granddaughter needed a babysitter, but that option doesn't work out either. In the end, she gets a menial job directing buses. Mishi goes out at night, but the late hours and cold weather start to take a toll on her health. Meanwhile, Maria discovers that the job her church friend mentioned is with Plan 75. On the other hand, May continues calling Ino, but when she doesn't get a response, she goes to her apartment and is devastated to find out that Ino has passed away. It seems that her apartment had been broken into. May is deeply affected by the loss. Homu visits his uncle's house and spends time with him. He learns that his uncle had worked as a builder all over the country throughout his life. His uncle asks about his mother and father, and Homu reveals that his father passed away and his mother remarried. During his visit, Homu realizes that his uncle is living in deplorable conditions. His uncle watches the news, which reports the success of Plan 75, and mentions that the government is considering lowering the eligibility age to 65 next year. Homu leaves his uncle's house feeling conflicted. May arrives at the social assistance department as she may need to start looking into welfare housing, but the welfare consultation desk is closed. She heads to a park, where a group of volunteers is distributing soup to the hungry and homeless. Homu is volunteering there and offers Mishi some soup, assuming she is in a desperate situation. Realizing that her life is heading in that direction and that she has no options left, Mishi finally signs up for Plan 75. Meanwhile, Maria starts working at Plan 75, handling cases of registrants who have no family, meaning the government is in charge of their funerals and cremations. Maria organizes the belongings of the deceased and notices that her coworker is stealing some of them. He suggests she do the same, arguing that those items are of no use to anyone now. Reluctantly, Maria gives in and takes a watch. Mishi finds out that Plan 75 includes a support team she can talk to, and she spends all her time on the phone with one of the staff members. She tells the girl that her marriage was arranged and that she had a baby, but the baby died at birth due to the umbilical cord wrapping around its neck. Unfortunately, the calls are limited to just 15 minutes at a time. Mishi asks the girl if they can meet in person, and although the young woman agrees, she warns Mishi that it's against the rules, and no one can find out. Mishi asks why it is forbidden for them to meet, and the girl explains that the company fears that if they form an emotional bond, Mishi might reconsider her decision to join the plan. Despite the warnings, Mishi and the young woman spend a fun night at a bowling alley, and Mishi even plays a bit, which is appreciated by the young people there. In the end, Mishi decides to donate the $11,000 she received from Plan 75. The support staff girl, having no children and no other use for the money, hands it over to Mishi. Meanwhile, Homu is setting up a Plan 75 information stall, which is attacked, and he discovers that there is growing resentment among the public toward the program. Later, at the office, he also learns that the ashes of cremated people who have no family are disposed of as industrial waste, leaving him unsure of how to feel about it. Later, May excitedly tells the support staff girl about her day. When the girl remembers that tomorrow is the day Mishi will die, she is obligated to tell Mishi to leave her apartment unlocked so that a Plan 75 employee can come to clear it out afterward. Although she fulfills this duty, it's clear from her tone that she has grown attached to Mishi, and this is very hard for her. She stresses that Mishi can opt out of the plan at any time if she wishes, but Mishi simply expresses her deepest gratitude to the girl for speaking to an old woman like her in her final days. Mishi hangs up the phone and truly feels the weight of what is about to happen. Later, the support staff girl tries to call Mishi from her personal mobile phone, but Mishi has already disconnected her phone and packed up all her belongings. The girl struggles to eat dinner alone, thinking of Mishi. The next morning, Mishi wakes up in her now empty apartment and observes her own hand moving, trying to fathom that soon this hand will no longer have life. She goes through her morning routine, as she has for 78 years, and prepares for her big day. She steps out onto her apartment balcony one last time and observes all the life going on below. Throughout her journey, Mishi takes a moment to appreciate everything she sees. Children playing, the sunlight on her face while riding the bus, and even the tunnel lights as the bus passes through. Meanwhile, Homu arrives at his uncle's house to take him out for lunch. During the meal, Homu buys his uncle a glass of sake, which makes his uncle sick. It is later revealed that Homu is taking his uncle to the Plan 75 offices for his death day and had secretly hoped that if his uncle got sick, he would cancel the appointment for the day. However, his uncle is determined to go through with the procedure. On the way, his uncle comments that Homu's voice sounds like his father's, and Homu replies that he feels the same way about his uncle. Finally, Homu drops his uncle off at the Plan 75 headquarters and leaves. Meanwhile, Mishi has already arrived and is undergoing some basic tests. They put a heart monitor on her, and as she hears the sound of her own heartbeat, she becomes more aware of the reality she is about to face. What is about to happen becomes even more real for Mishi. She lies down and waits for the medication that will stop her heart to arrive. In the cubicle next to hers is Homu's uncle, who has already received his dose. In his final moments, as his heartbeat gradually slows to a stop, his eyes lock with May's. She literally sees the life leave his eyes. It is a tragic moment. Meanwhile, Homu is on his way home when he suddenly has a change of heart. He decides that he wants to stop his uncle, or at least talk to him one last time. He turns his car around and speeds toward Plan 75. When he arrives, he finds Mishi sitting on her bed, but in the cubicle next to hers, his uncle lies lifeless. Homu is devastated. He decides to steal the body because he wants to give his uncle a proper burial instead of letting his ashes end up as industrial waste. Maria, who is making her rounds, catches him in the act, but instead of reporting him, she understands his situation and helps him load the body into his car. Homu desperately tries to book a cremation service, but the nearest appointment is 4 days away. He is informed that there is an available appointment that same day, but he will have to drive very far to reach it on time. Homu drives as fast as he can, but a police officer pulls him over for speeding. The officer approaches his window, and Homu is incredibly nervous because he has a dead body in the passenger seat. However, since it's an old man, the officer simply assumes that the man is asleep. Elsewhere, Maria is seen riding her bicycle up a hill, and it is revealed that Mishi is climbing the very same hill. Watching the life leave Homu's uncle's eyes made Mishi rethink her decision. When she reaches the top, she watches the sunrise over the entire city. She is at peace as she stands there, singing the same song she sang at karaoke with her friends. In that moment, she realizes that as long as her heart is beating, there will be another tomorrow, and with it, more life to be lived in one form or another. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like our channel and subscribe if you enjoy this type of content. Also, let us know which movie you'd like us to recap for you.